Hello students, welcome to Legacy as Academy. Now we know that UPSC Prelims examination is over and many of you are discussing about what can be the probable cutoff and all that. But now I think despite a number, whatever you're getting marks you're getting in the prelims examination, if you feel that you are somewhere near the cutoff, yeah, I think you should without wasting time start preparing for the civil services mains examination because mains is just 3 months away from now. And that's why the faster you start going into the mains mode, easier will it be for you to appear in the mains examination and also write answer with much confidence. Now, because time is limited, we need to have a better understanding how to utilize this entire 3 month in efficient manner, because knowledge, whatever you need to have, you already have enough knowledge because if you have appeared in prelims examination and are going to clear the examination, you have to now focus on basically producing this knowledge on the answer paper, answer sheet, we can say. As we know that UPSC mains examination is more about testing your presentation of answer rather than what you know. So let us try to understand some brief dimensions that you can inculcate in your preparation strategy to make your mains answer writing or mains preparation overall aligned with the demand of the examination. So first of all, we know that mains examination you cannot just qualify by reading as much content as possible. Your focus should be to write how much you know in a better way. So first of all, the most important point we are going to discuss that answer writing practice, why it is very, very important, and what are the things you can adopt in your answer writing. Second, we'll discuss about the revision strategy, because already for prelims you have studied so much history, geography, economy, right? Different subjects. Such some subjects you might not have prepared because these are largely relevant to the mains examination, such as internal security challenges, international relations, or even GS ethics. Paper 4. Third, concise notes making. While you're revising, how you have to make a concise notes. Already to the class notes, if you have attended the classes, you'll have the bulky note from all the subjects. So how you can make it in the short notes. Test series optimization, how test series can play a very important role. How many tests ideally you should attempt and how many answers you should ideally write every day. We are going to discuss about that as well. Plus, while preparing for the mains answer writing, how significant and important it is to refer to the previous year question, because UPSC in the mains examination, they're asking questions in a particular way. So understanding those questions, what actually is being asked, what are different type of directives and all that you are going to discuss. And goal last is to ensure that you are able to convert knowledge. Again, I told you prelims was a test of your knowledge. You have enough knowledge. Now you have to just ensure that you are able to produce the answer sheet. So convert knowledge into marks through structured execution. Structured execution would become better the more answers you write in the test series or by yourself also. Now let us try to understand UPSC mains. What actually try to check? Now factual knowledge is being checked in the general studies prelims examination. Apart from that, UPSC in mains also is trying to ensure that you have the analytical ability. Analytical ability means for any particular situation, any particular issue that we are facing in India or at the global scale. It can be as simple as climate change. Then you should be aware what are the dimensions of it. For example, why are we witnessing climate change? Why were we talking about it so much? Right? You should also be able to analyze that the efforts that we have put in addressing climate change, why those efforts are not being successful, what more can be done. So issues, challenges, solutions, all of these things from multidimensional perspective, we should be ready to answer such question rather than just dumping the information, facts that you know in the examination. Apart from that, you also, because you're going to be administrator, your job would be to come with some solutions that we are facing in India as such. That's why analytical ability is preferred here. Second is, now the trend of UPSC, if you look here, questions either are of 10 mark or of 15 marks. 10 mark question maximum you have to write how many words? 150 words. 15 mark question maximum how many words you have to write? So answer is 250 words. So no matter for any particular topic, no matter how much you have studied, you have studied 10 pages, let us suppose 5,000 words you know about a particular issue, you do not have to write those entire 5,000 words. So you have to condense the entire information that you have in your mind into just 150 or 250 words. When you are condensing the information, it is important that you present your information from various dimensions. And various dimensions, you not have to think which dimensions you have to include. You have to basically go through the syllabus itself. So economic dimension, social, political, right? Then you have, for example, geographical, ethical, historical. So rather than making answer deeper, you have to focus on making answer much more broader, with multiple dimensions. So rather than writing 3 point in detail, in UPSC mains, you are expected to write 15 point and from different dimensions, covering as many areas, broad areas as possible. Third, UPSC focuses upon the clarity. That means you are presenting your fact in such a way that any person, even if he is less than, even if he is suppose 8th pass, 9th pass, you should be able to understand what you're trying to say. The structure definitely is the core of UPSC answer writing, and the brevity is required. Relevant example, current linkage, that obviously we're going to discuss. This is what we have to add to overall, we can say, substantiate your answer. You cannot in UPSC main just say some general statement without giving point to validate it. So when you talk about global warming, you cannot just say that generally from last couple of decades we have seen the warming of the earth or warming of the earth's atmosphere. Whenever you're writing such a statement, if possible, in a lot of cases not possible, but wherever it is possible, you should always substantiate. For example, you can say that we have seen this much degree of rise in last 1 decade or such. Time management under pressure is going to be also one of the challenging issues that you'll have to face, which you can only solve by attempting as many questions as possible, because the most common mistake aspirants do is that they spend too much time in 1 or 2 questions. So by the time the exam is coming to end, you would see that you have just attempted 14 to 15 questions out of 20. And you would think that, okay, I have attempted 14 to 15 questions, but I have written it in very good manner. But that is not enough. In examination, mains examination specifically, your first focus is to attempt all the questions in all the papers. Even if you are leaving 1, 2 questions in each of the paper, by the end you will have 8 questions unanswered, and 8 questions are carrying about 100 to 150 marks. So imagine you are not being evaluated at all on those 100, 150 marks. And if someone has attempted all the question, even if they are getting 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks, for 8 questions, there will be 20, 30 marks higher than you. And that would make a big difference both in ensuring that whether you are getting selected, or if you are getting selected, what rank you are going to get as such. That's why time management under pressure is what you have to focus right now in the next 3 months. UPSC mains, more we can say, is a presentation. The information that you know, how well you are able to articulate it, present it, and not just a knowledge competition as such. So while you are preparing for UPSC mains, keep these points in mind. Now, one of the things that I have seen by looking at the answer sheet of many of these aspirants who have successfully aced the examination and those who have not been able to successfully pass the mains examination, there are some common themes that seems to emerging. Common theme is, first of all, the answer structure. Even if you know a lot of facts, if your answer structure is poor, you are not going to get good marks. And I can explain you by looking at the example of geography itself. If suppose in geography question is asked about plate tectonics. Now, obviously, there are two aspirants. One is explaining everything he know about plate tectonics in writing, and he has written suppose 200, 250 words, even 300 words to explain everything in proper detail. But what is missing in geography? He is not making any map. He has not made any diagrams as such. Fact wise, both have written the same facts. Fact wise, concept wise, both have discussed the same thing. But the other aspirant, he has explained most of the idea through the use of map and diagram. He has shown how the plates are colliding. He has shown how the convergence of plate led to formation of Himalayas. So when you are presenting your answer in this way, specifically for subjects such as geography, it means that you are focusing upon the good answer presentation structure, and that's what you have to practice here, right? You already would be knowing about plate tectonics, the concepts and theories and all that. But in next 3 months, you have to ensure that every related diagrams related to concepts, every map related to those ideas should be ingrained in your mind so that you are able to reproduce in shortest possible time in the examination. And I will tell you there is advantage of it. And the advantage is that if you are able to present an idea that you can express in 50 words in just through one map or diagram, that means you are saving a lot of time. And these time then you can spend on relatively difficult question. Otherwise, if you are giving equal time to all the questions, it becomes quite challenging to finish the paper. Third is, now many people start scouting for accessory sources that I will read from here, from here, from here. And in beginning, it seems interesting because you will feel that you are filling the gap of your knowledge. But trust me, there is no gap in your knowledge as such. What you have to do right now is to be aware with the current events. There is nothing more you have to study from a static. Do not go start finding sources for static as such. Whatever you have written, basic book, class notes, NCERTs and all that, that is more than enough. So do not go through excessive sources. You will just get confused and you will not be able to then recollect and recall in the examination hall. Weak introduction, conclusions should be avoided. Time practice is obviously what you have to do. And this already we have mentioned this point, generic answer. Do not write generic answers. Whenever you have opportunity always put credible examples, data, case study to substantiate your answer. Knowledge without presentation fails to fetch high marks. This is the overall idea behind this entire slide. Now, if you talk about the 90-day, roughly 90-day time you have. So, phase 1, obviously, answer writing you have to start from day 1 itself. Like, for example, whatever topics you are familiar with, whatever subject you feel more comfortable with, do start from that. And I would suggest you start from PYQs itself. So, you'll also have idea that how UPSC is framing question from a particular topic, and your mindset will then be aligned with the demand of question. So 1 to 3 syllabus consolidation, you have to do concise notes. If you have not made, especially for long topics, you should do that. 31 to 60, now this is the page where in first 30 days you have collected all the information, knowledge, extra material if you want to refer to something, especially for internal security and IR, because those are generally not prepared so much in the prelims examination or ethics. You should do that in first 30 days. After that, 31 to 60 days should largely be focused on intensive answer writing plus sectional test. If you feel that you do not have enough knowledge, you can actually divide your day into half, right? If you're studying for the entire day, the first half of the day you can spend on gaining some knowledge or filling the gap that you have in knowledge. If you're not comfortable about geography or history, you should read the standard books, textbook, NCRTs and all that, right? Current affairs you can cover. In the second half of the day, whatever you have studied, whatever chapter, whatever topics, whatever subjects you have studied that day, make sure that you attempt writing answer. That means you have to solve the question, answer writing, intensive answer writing. If you are comfortable in certain section like internal security is, we can say it is relatively having short subject, short syllabus. So you can start attempting questions from the internal security challenges. IR, if you have completed, started attempting sectional test, quality based sectional test, geography based sectional test. So intensive answer writing plus sectional test. And then the last phase that you have between 61 to 90 days, you should focus on revising in full of the entire subject. You can actually divide it by paper wise paper, GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. And then this is the time frame when you have to attempt full length test. Why full length test? Because it will prepare you very well for the mains examination. Here, your attempt is not to gain as much knowledge as possible. Your attempt in this last 30 days should be refine your answer. Already you are writing answer for last 2 months. You would know that these challenges you are facing, or these are the shortcomings you will come to know when you are discussing the paper with your mentors, peers or teachers as such. They will tell you that, okay, you are not making enough diagram, or your introduction and inclusion part is not good, you have to improve upon there. Or in body, you're not making proper subheadings, you're not writing what you can call, say, in the point wise manner, or you are covering only some narrow aspect of a particular topic. So you have enough feedback from last 2 months. Now what you have to do in the last 30 days is to work on those feedbacks, keep refining your answer. Try to think, after you have attempted any particular test, always try to think that how you could have made your answer more better. Could you have added more data? Could you have added more detailed case studies? Could you have added more diagrams and maps and all that? If yes, then try to write answer by improvising upon it. Full length test. Why? Here your focus should be that in the 3 hours that you will have in the examination hall, you should be able to complete all the 20 questions. That means your answer writing speed should also be reflected in this particular stage. Exam simulation, basically this last 3 days you have to be completely in the main mind frame of the mains examination. I would tell you that what you can do it to make it more better is that whenever you are attempting the question papers, or whenever you are giving the full length test, always give in the time duration when actual mains examination would be held. Because otherwise what problem happens is that you wake up in the morning at 7 o'clock and you gave one test. You will think that, okay, I have done well. The problem is that actual examination would not be from 7, it will be from 9:30, it will be from 10 as such. So when you are writing examination for writing test for the last 30 days in the same time slot, your mind would be adapted to that condition. What kind of if you have, for example, many times people have this habit of sleeping or taking a nap in the afternoon. But if you're taking a nap in the afternoon at a time when examination is going to be conducted, no matter how good your preparation is, your mind will not be able to basically recall and recollect information. It will not feel fresh as such. So that's why the last 30 days of your mains preparation should be completely aligned with the time frame in which mains examination and paper would be conducted. This you should definitely do. Try to adjust your schedule accordingly. Core principle for 3 months, if I try to conclude it, revise more than reading news sources. Reading news sources would just clutter your mind with a lot of unnecessary facts, information, which anyway you will not be able to recall in such a short period of time. So whatever you have studied, try to first of all focus more on revision. If you are able to revise more, you will be able to recollect more. If you're able to recollect more, you will be able to write your answer at a faster speed, and the probability of you completing the question paper would be much higher. Write daily. Answer writing practice should not be one off, that you studied 1 week and then wrote one test. Again, you studied 1 week, wrote one test. That would not yield any result as such. In the last 3 months, you have to write as much as possible. I would say you should write in such a way that your hand becomes kind of develop muscle memory, that you're writing and automatically the ideas and the concepts and the what I can say topics are flowing automatically from your mind, and your hand is writing it. Practice PYQs repeatedly, reduce notes every revision, every revision, and integrate current affairs into a static subject. This is again for mains examination, it is very, very relevant. Whenever you're writing even answer for, let us say, static topic, right? You have in geography to study about volcanism. So if a question is asked in mains about volcanism, I cannot write a very good question, very good answer without integrating the current affairs, right? So what you have to do, you have to find out the volcanoes that are in news, or if you're writing about earthquake, you have to find out which kind of which places have recorded earthquake in the recent times and all that. Similarly for the natural disasters and all that, so it becomes very, very relevant. Then practice PYQs repeatedly. Reduce notes, we have discussed, integrate current affairs into a static subject. These are something you should be able to do once you are in the first 30-40 days of the preparation you are done with. Daily minimum target, if I suggest that you should start with 2-3 questions, and then gradually you have to go to up to 10 GS answers by the end of 1.5 month, and then you can start appearing in the sectional test. So every day or every alternate day, if it becomes too much for you because you feel that you have to study more, you should try to attempt one sectional test. Ethics, again, very important. It can decide and make and break your selection. That's why case study is one of the most important part of ethics. You should definitely focus upon. 30 minutes you can do essay brainstorming. Now essay on the Saturday or Sunday, you can make a schedule that will write two essays. On one essay you can take on the contemporary topics, current affairs based topic. One essay you can take which is UPSC ask of generally philosophical in nature, something based on the statement that someone has said as such. So this you should be doing every Sunday. But again, every week, at least on 3 to 4 topics, go through the PYQs, look the pattern, how questions are being asked in essay. You should try to brainstorm that if you were asked to write essay on these particular topics based on the knowledge that you have gathered, both from the general studies preparation as well as from optional preparation, what kind of points you would have mentioned there. Not to write the entire essay of 3 hours, you have to just brainstorm ideas and then make a proper structure. Introduction, what you would have included, body, what would you have included, and then in the end conclusion, how do you have done that, what are the other facts, data you could have prepared. So if you're doing that, by the end of 3 months, let us suppose you will have about 50 such topics on which you already have brainstormed idea. Now even if those 50 topics are not directly asked in examination, topics that would be asked to some extent would be related to those 50 topics definitely. So even if you're able to get five points from here and there, you should be able to have enough point. Then in examination, your only job is to arrange those points, arrange those concepts that you have, learning that you have in a structured manner. 2 revision slots daily, as we discussed, focus on daily consistency builds writing maturity. Now many times students do this mistake. What do? They think that I will write one day in the entire week and I'll write from morning to night. Right? That is not a good way. You have to have preparation on a daily basis. Even if you're writing 2-3 answers, 5 answers in the beginning, it is okay, but gradually you should able to increase those numbers. Real UPSC answer writing strategy, ideally this should be the general approach you should follow for majority of the questions. If some questions are deviating from the norm, then obviously you should improvise upon it. But generally 10 to 15% word limit we are talking about should be introduction, 10-15% conclusion, and 70 to 75% should be your core body. So in beginning, this is the general structure you should follow. It will be helping you in ensuring that you are first of all able to structure your thought. Structuring your thought is how you are going to use your brain, use your mind to prepare for the new answer or to write new answer as such. So balance the structure with clarity and relevance. Every question when you are writing, make sure that you take care of these points. Now some presentation techniques we can discuss. As we have seen in the beginning of the discussion itself, that UPSC mains these days is not a test of your entire depth about a particular concept, rather it is testing the breadth of your knowledge, how much you know, how can you integrate the topic of climate change with several dimensions such as effect on the society, how politics is getting impacted, how geopolitics is getting impacted, right? How it will cause natural disasters. So how is it related to geography as such? How ethics can play important role in taking decision related to climate change, policy framing and all that. So multiple dimensions you have to think of. So your pattern of thought should represent the breadth of knowledge rather than depth in one particular field. And this you can only present if you're writing answers in a bullet point. So paragraph way of writing answer, paragraph form of writing answer, it is not suitable for the current trend of examination for majority of questions. Again, some questions can be exception where you can obviously use paragraph, but mostly you have to follow bullet points. Flow chart, when you are presenting some ideas, let us say question is asked about population. In population, they have asked that discuss the trend of population change in India. Simple question, we can take example. So one way is that you start talking that India, this much population was in 1920, then population increase, decrease and all that. You can write a very good paragraph even in bullet points and all that. But for presenting such information, I would suggest you can use flowchart. Flowchart, you can say that 1920s this was, 1950s this much, 1980s this much. You can also use the charts, pie charts, bar diagram and all that. A simple line diagram itself will be sufficing. So that you should do stakeholder analysis. That is again important from the GS4 ethics perspective. Cause effect diagram. This is very important in geography. And in geography, we are seeing a lot of questions being asked from the field of natural disaster management. So how a particular event causes a particular disaster. This can be explained easily by drawing a cause effect diagram. Like for example, rather than writing that earthquake can trigger tsunami, we can make a diagram showing that you have the occurrence of earthquake. When earthquake occurs, you have the displacement, right? Displacement of water. When the water gets displaced, what happens? A tsunami like wave, for example, ripple like wave is generated, and this wave travel at a fast speed along the coastal areas. So this is how you can better present your answer. It is also attractive for examiner, and in one single glance you can understand that whether you are aware about the concept asking questions or not. Maps diagram we have discussed wherever possible. In the geography, specifically geography, international relations, internal security, these chapters, topics or subjects is where you have to focus more on ensuring that you have enough adequate maps and diagram, better readability and examiner engagement. This should be your focus rather than writing everything that you know in a paragraph form that makes it difficult for examiner to read, where one part of answer is beginning, where other part of answer is ending. Because if you look the pattern of examination these days, UPSC is asking 4 to 5 questions in a single question. So one, they will ask about examining the causes. Second, they will ask about why we are not able to address it. Third, they will ask about what more suggestions you can make or way forward or recommendations you can make. So you have to answer your structure your answer in a similar pattern. If they're asking causes in first part, after introduction, write causes of a particular situation, causes of particular problems. Then you can write what are the steps that we have taken. But each of them you have to highlight by writing the proper subheading. So by first glance, it is clear that all the questions being asked in the particular, all the parts that is asked in the particular question is properly answered. Then as far as the introduction and conclusion is concerned, we can use some technique for effective introduction such as constitutional provisions, recent report. In geography or in science and tech, even definition based questions can be asked. Then you can quote about the linkage with current affairs. If question is asked about disaster management, you cannot answer disaster management based question if you are not mentioning why it was a news current affair in current affairs. So historical context also you can talk about. And even in many time in conclusion, if it is not asked, you can answer by writing about way forward, linking it to the sustainable development goals if it is related there. Constitutional values, always we can link it, whether it is geography, economy, polity, and ethical governance. So these are some of the ready-made conclusions and introduction you can structure for about 15-20 major topics through which questions are being asked. This you can do easily for the IR based questions or for the internal security based question. So that should be your strategy. 150 versus 250 word strategy. Similarly, I have told you 10%, 70%, again 10-15%. So you can divide like this. Again, to emphasize, one map, one diagram can easily replace 50 words as such. Again, for time management, you understand that 7 minutes for 10 maker every question. 10 questions are of 15 marks. So for that, you will have roughly 11 minutes. So this is again, you cannot do that in examination hall directly. You have to have this practice from the beginning itself, from the test series itself. You should sectional test when you're writing, or subject based test you're writing, or even full length test when you're appearing. make sure that you are properly managing time. If you feel that your answer writing speed is not up to mark, this 3 month is the time when you can definitely improve upon it, and then you should be able to this what you can say, cover the entire paper as such. So complete full GS paper in 3 hours before the mains examination. That should be your approach. PYQ centric preparation, we have discussed that practicing of PYQs is very, very important. And also in mains, what happens many times, you see that question is related to, let us say, continental drift theory. You'll feel that yes, you have read everything about continental theory. You'll know what are the evidences. You know what was the this criticism of the theory, who gave the theory, or what this theory tells about how the change in the configuration of Earth we have witnessed in the theory. So you will be tempted to write whatever you know. But I would suggest that carefully read what is being asked. If they are only asking discuss the evidences in support of theory, you do not need to go through the entire history, how Earth's configuration is changing, what is the criticism and all that. You focus on what actually is being asked in question rather than writing everything under the sun that you are aware about that particular concept. That is only possible if you are reading the questions carefully and if you are able to then align your answer. Directive word, many times you will see, for example, major directive words that UPSC gives is discuss, analyze, evaluate, comment, substantiate and all that. So make sure that you understand each of them, because even if the statement of the question is same, but if the directive word changes, the way how do you address or how do you answer for that particular question would become quite different. So for again guidance, you can meet your mentors, meet your peers, meet your what you can call as the teachers as such. Plus you can also compare with the toppers that how a particular question they have answered, how you have answered, whether there is any chance or scope of improvising, improvement. Definitely do that. Note system is simple. You should have 4 different type of notes if you have made it by now. That is basic notes, condensed note, ultra short revision sheets, last day flash sheets. Last day flash sheets is basically to again revise everything. Like for example, GS1, you have society, economy, geography, society, history and geography as such. So you should be able to do that from last 30-40 pages of the notes that you have. In every topic, definitions, constitutional articles, judgment, report, statistic, example, this should be done for the paper 2, that is ethic, that is polity and governance based topic as such. Test series, again I would say it is going to play a very, very important vital role in your mains preparation. As I told you, mains is not only a test of your knowledge, it is a test of how well you are able to present your answer, how fast you can write the answer for 20 questions in 3 hours of time window, while at the same time you have to think, analyze and structure it. So that can only happen if you are practicing. Practice, practice and practice. More you write, less difficulty you will face in the mains examination. That is the given rule. Now, purpose of test series is not to give you knowledge. It is not to test what you know. It is for you to build writing stamina. You should be able to write, because in one day you will have 2 papers. You should be writing for 6 hours daily. Then only you will be able to write that similar way in the examination as such. Improve time management. Identify the weak areas. When you are writing paper, you will say that okay, in GS1 I am scoring good in history and society. Geography is where I am lagging behind. That's where you can focus your preparation on, right? In the limited number of hours you have. Post test, what you have to do once you are doing the giving the test, do not just go and start attempting the second test or start writing again or preparing again. Analysis becomes very important. Every test which you are giving, full length, sectional, does not matter, should be able to provide you the mistakes, analysis about the mistakes that you have committed, the scope of improvising, where you can improvise upon, rewrite poor answers. If you feel that you have gotten only 3 marks, 4 marks in 15-mark question, obviously you should aim for 6-7 marks. So how you can bring extra marks, that's what you have to think upon here. Updation of notes, if you come across certain news, right, certain reports that you have, certain new data have come, so always you have to update it. Identify the content gaps. If you feel that you're writing good answer but you're not able to enrich it, why you're not able to enrich it? Because you're lacking sufficient data, reports, case studies. So these 3 months you can try to collect 1 2 3 4 examples from different places, right? At least for 500 600 questions that you are going to write, right? That would be more than enough that you can inculcate in the actual mains examination also. So what I'm trying to say in the essence, that while attempting 20 tests, when you're moving from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, the gap between all the tests should be should actually allow you to improve your answer writing practice and this skill as such. Improvement between tests matters more than whatever marks you are getting in the test as such. Not too much concentrate on the marks, 100 marks, 80 marks, 70 marks. Focus more on attempt this understanding, analyzing, and then what you can say, improving based on the test analysis. SS strategy you can do also, as we have discussed already. 2 essays every week you have to write, and brainstorming you have to do as far as possible. Value addition, definitely in the GS3 you have a lot of options of value addition, especially in economy, a lot of data you can quote. For that, always refer to the credible sources. Niti Aayog can be one source. Recommendations of Administrative Reforms Committee you can put in the GS2, in GS3, even in GS4 ethics paper. Sustainable development goals in GS2, again Supreme Court judgments, they play a very important role while you're trying to substantiate your question, or in your questions is asked about constitutional article, the changes that we are seeing, there also you can put such judgment. So for example, when I talk about the right to life, right to liberty, what are the relevant judgments in last couple of years? International indexes, case studies, prepare separate sheets. That is what I would suggest for all of these value enrichment of your answer, and then keep revising. Before every test, when you are attempting, make sure that you go through all these value addition material, enrichment material, and try to use them in the test paper. If you try to do that, then gradually in 3 months, you'll have this automatic way of inculcating these points from various different sources, collecting this point from various different sources, and then you're able to connect it. Which topic I would write, which kind of data and points. Data statistic, codes, committees, constitutional articles, as you know, becomes very important in ensuring that you're getting more marks than your what you can call as more marks than compared to your competitors as such. Common mistakes to avoid is passive reading without writing. Too many sources. Again, we are trying to now again summarize it. What we have discussed: passive reading. Again, reading for the 6 hours, 7 hours every day is not going to help you right now in the mains examination. Knowledge already you have enough. You have to just add some value to it, and then you have to focus on writing as many answers as possible, attempting as many tests as possible. Too many sources, lack of revision, right? This is something that you have to focus upon. And weak areas, I told you, the one purpose of test is to identify your weak areas. So you should focus on those weak area. That's where your revision should be largely focused upon. Optional, as we know, that actual marks in the mains also is determined by the optional. So do not ignore optional. Optional is going to play a key role in again determining whether you are getting selected, or if you are getting selected, what can be your rank. So optional, for that you need to have a dedicated test, dedicated self studies, and the answer writing practices. Poor presentation is something that you have to avoid. That's where you have to keep on improving. And last, I would say that again, in the next 3 months of your examination, how consistent you are, that would beat the intensity that you have put till now by the prelims examination and the UPSC preparation. So now these 3 months are to be consistent on a daily basis. Even if you feel that your preparation is not up to mark, you have not gathered enough information and knowledge for a particular topic, particular subject, I would say that shed all those ideas and belief. Just go and write answer, whatever you know, write it first. Once you write, then you will realize that actually you could have written it. You knew enough points to write 150 word, 250 word answer for subjects mentioned, topics mentioned in the syllabus, and then only you can go for the further enrichment. So again, success formula: revise, write. After writing, get it evaluated. Again, based on the suggestions, feedback, improve, repeat. That is going to be the formula. One single formula that you have to follow for the entire 3 months. Same: revise, write, evaluate, improve, repeat. Every day with consistency, without any excuses. Do that, and you will feel that you are much more confident in the actual mains examination hall than what you are feeling today. UPSC mains reward disciplined execution, repeated revision, and answer writing maturity. And again, this cannot come just by thinking. It will only come when you actually write the answer, practice, and solve this attempt as many tests as possible. So these are, or these should act as a guiding light for the UPSC mains examination for the next 3 months. Thank you very much.